Hey there guys, I'm back to another video. Today I'm here to showcase my PlayStation 4 collection. If you guys have been a fan of the channel for a while, you might know that I do this pretty much every year because I feel like the PS4 is such a great console to collect for. You know, it is definitely one of the more modern systems. It's only last generation now, but still games are getting released for it. There's a lot of indie games, obviously AAA games and whatnot that you could still buy and collect for, and even certain, PS3, Xbox 360 games get remastered, reported onto that console. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of that stuff within this video, along with some other extra additions that I've made over the past year. So first, I got to talk about two games that I don't have like physically and games that I can't really talk about, and I'll probably forget once I get to the other games because these are both part of franchises. So first up is Resident Evil 7. I also did play Resident Evil 6, which I do have in my collection, but pretty much Resident Evil 7, it is pretty good. It's a nice follow-up to the previous game. I think the action bits are a little too much for me. I definitely like the more, sort of closed off and closed area of just like, figuring out like what that family was doing and like all the weird and messed up stuff they were doing. So yeah, I definitely like the horror aspect of Resident Evil a lot more. And I feel like 7 was leaning a little more towards the action stuff, which is fine. It's just, a matter of preference. It's still a good game. Then the next thing I have to talk about is these two collector's editions, which I'm not going to pull out of my setup here. It is the Last of Us Part 2 Collector's Edition and Sonic Mania Collector's Edition. So yeah, I've done unboxing videos on both of those. And for Sonic Mania, I can't really talk about it during my normal collection just because it didn't come with a physical copy. But Sonic Mania, what can I say about the game that hasn't already been said? It is one of the best, if not the best, Sonic game in a while, and it is still my personal favorite for the franchise. Even though I have not played and finished Sonic 1 through 3 and Knuckles, I recognize that Sonic Mania does everything right within the classic 2D formula. I played Sonic CD, that's like still one of my favorite Sonic games as well, but Sonic Mania just does everything oh so perfect. It also just looks amazing. It plays great. And I definitely want to replay it one of these days. I haven't played Sonic Mania Plus, which includes Ray and Mighty, so I definitely have to do that. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the meat and bones of my PS4 collection because I have a lot of stuff to go through, so let's just get started. A Way Out. This is one of the first games that Hazlight Studios made. They are the same people that made It Takes Two, and this is the previous game that they did before that. And this is a co-op required experience. It is such a fun game. It pretty much combines a bunch of third-person action adventure sort of gameplay styles into one, and they do them pretty well. I'm not going to say they do them amazingly, but I feel like for what they were trying to accomplish, like the sort of motorcycle sequences, like that was great. The gunplay is also very, very good. But yeah, done a whole video on this, a whole game review when it initially came out. And yeah, definitely worth checking out. I'd definitely recommend you play this if you have like a significant other or even someone in your life that you just like playing games with. Next game we got here is Assassin's Creed Origins. For a franchise like this one, I gotta have one of them on this console. I got this around when it came out, but for like very, very cheap, which is why I have it within my collection. This was the first Assassin's Creed game that they came out where I think it was after like the long break that they did, which was like, more than a year. And people were kind of hyping this one. And I was like, all right, fine. I got this for like 20 bucks at the time, which was like a steal. I opened it because I was just like, why not? I think my receipt is still here. Let me just open it up and make sure that I don't dox myself so I could actually show you how much I paid for it, if it is even on here. Yeah. So I will show the price paid. $24. So yeah, that is pretty cool. The fact that I got this for like less than 30 bucks at the time was kind of crazy. So yeah, Assassin's Creed Origins, don't really have much to say about it. I am excited for Assassin's Creed Shadows, which will come out early next year. They did just delay it, probably because the game was not finished and running in a buggy state, just like Star Wars Outlaws, but I digress. Batman Arkham Origins, the conclusion to the Batman Arkham series, and one that was riddled with a lot of complaints when it initially came out. Obviously, after Arkham Knights came out, people have gone back to this game and been like, wait, it's actually not that bad. I'm still in the camp, I haven't replayed it recently, but I'm still in the camp that like this game is still not that great and maybe even bad compared to Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, because Arkham Knight, you know, they finally add the Batmobile, and it's just a bunch of tank sections where you're just shooting a bunch of guys in vehicles, and you know, traveling with it throughout the hub world is pretty cool. But the missions that where you have to use the Batmobile are just not fun and don't feel like Batman at all. I feel like that they plateaued with the Batman formula in terms of like the open world exploration stuff. Also, the story with the Arkham Knight. At first, it was cool, and then it became very obvious what angle they were going with for it, which made the story a lot more predictable and just less exciting overall. So, yeah, sure, Arkham Knight is better than the recent Batman games, but does that still make it a good game? I don't know, but in my opinion, I still think that this is the worst of the Arkham trilogy, and I wish that, you know, Rocksteady maybe went a little bit of a different direction with that one. BioShock, the collection. I bought this recently because my girlfriend wanted to try out the BioShock games, and obviously this is the most accessible way to do it. We found this at a local game store, if I could remember the name of it and the logo. I'll put it on your screen right now. But yeah, I played a little bit of the first game after we got it. Haven't really touched it since. I have some nostalgia for this series, actually. I played it back on the Xbox 360. I borrowed it from my neighbors. I played a little bit of the first one. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's definitely a product of its time, I will say, in terms of like the controls and the visuals and everything like that. But they don't really make games like this anymore, if you know what I'm saying. Like, they don't make a lot of new and original, exciting sort of games that take a genre like first person shooters and does it like this, where it's like a story driven. You got like multiple different weapons that you have to use between both triggers. It's kind of weird. But yeah, you know, BioShock, this is definitely like probably the best way to enjoy the series nowadays, just because it's very accessible to just get it on like the PS4, Xbox One, and just plug it into your newer, you know, console or whatever. Bloodborne. I think I've talked about this multiple times throughout these collection videos, and I've actually finally played it. I played Elden Ring as well a little bit. Obviously, I haven't finished any of these Souls-like games just because I suck at them. I am so goddamn bad, especially with Bloodborne. I'm just so impatient, and I just want to kill things or whatever. But I recognize that these are great and amazing games. I feel like if you want a game like this, where you have to think about your combat moves and sort of every single move you make, and any little mistake you make will just be so punishing, so unforgiving that you have to restart all the way from the beginning, then yeah, play games like this. But I feel like for me, myself, for a Souls-like experience, you know, I'm just not great at them, and you know, it just makes me not want to play them. But obviously, I recognize that they are still great and fun games that you could play and check out. There's a reason why a lot of people watch Kai Cenat play it. So yeah, you know, Bloodborne, I do hope that we get like some sort of like remaster for it on the PlayStation 5, because this is obviously a game that people have been wanting and requesting for years at this point. Let's talk about these two games together. Borderlands, the Handsome Collection, and Borderlands 3. Bought these at Retro Island Gaming, and yeah, I bought these just because they do have a, I believe it's a buy two get one free sale on all games that are $11 or less, and these were around that price range. So the collection comes with Borderlands, the pre-sequel, and Borderlands 2. I believe Borderlands is on the PS4, but as like a standalone release, and then Borderlands 3. I have not played this series to a good extent. I think I played Borderlands 2 a little bit on PC, but not enough to really form an opinion on it. I know what the series is about. I know how it looks. But yeah, I definitely want to get into this series, especially because you could play multiplayer, I'm pretty sure, local. And yeah, definitely want to do that with my girlfriend. Next game we got here is the Capcom Fighting Collection. I bought this at Target just because I was doing that little TikTok video where I showed like a bunch of like clearance games that you could find at Target. Like, don't skip out on them. If you ever go to a Target, whether it's near you or far away, always check their clearance section for electronics, because sometimes they will discount some stuff that other stores may not discount. So at this store in particular, I found the Capcom Fighting Collection for like less than $20, which is crazy. So the collection comes with a bunch of games. I'm obviously not a big fighting game guy, but you know, any of like the puzzle games or whatever, I'm definitely down to try. But yeah, you know, just having a bunch of these classic fighting game titles on one collection is pretty neat. Now let's talk about the Crash Bandicoot series. So when the Insane Trilogy was announced, I was obviously very excited just because at the time I think I was just getting into like the Crash Bandicoot series, and I think a few years prior I finished all of the games on the PS1 except for the first game because the first game is like ridiculously hard. So when they announced it during that one E3 where they're like, yeah, Crash Bandicoot's back, it was a timed exclusive for the PlayStation 4. I was like, yeah, I'm there. I'm excited for it. And yeah, I just love this collection. It is probably the best way to play all three of these games. Obviously, the originals are still good. Crash 2 is still my favorite Crash Bandicoot game out of this trilogy. Yeah, just fantastic, amazing sort of way to replay and relive this series in one collection. And now it's available on pretty much everything on PC, Switch, Xbox, etc. And then you got Crash Bandicoot 4. They announced this a few years later, and this was going to be a worldwide release, or sort of multi-platform release, I should say. It was going to release on everything all at the same time. And yeah, this was a great follow-up to the original Crash Bandicoot trilogy. It does really live up to sort of what it is as Crash 4. I don't know what happened to my case here. It's like all warped or whatever. But anyways, Crash Bandicoot 4, yeah, it's a fantastic sort of sequel to the Crash Bandicoot series, like I said. My only gripe with it is that 100%ing a game like this is tough. It is so unnerving and stupid. Like, there's just so many collectibles and platforming challenges that I feel like if you 100% this game, you are a official gamer. Like, you went above and beyond to even go after it, because that is not a easy feat to do for this game to like 100%. Because at first when I was playing it, I was having so much fun. I was like, maybe I will 100% it. And then I saw how many collectibles there were, and I was like, you know what? Never mind. I'm good. So yeah, you know, Crash 4 still a great, fantastic game. Just don't go for 100% completion, in my opinion. Then we got Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel. This is a remaster, remake, whatever you want to call it, of the Crash Bandicoot kart racing game from the PS1. And I don't know what it was. I just couldn't really get into it. I bought it on Black Friday one year, and I tried to pop it in, really try to, you know, get into it, play it or whatever. And I just couldn't. I just really could not fall in love in terms of like what this game was presenting to me in terms of like a kart racing game. And I was just like, I don't really like it. So that's just me. I definitely wanted to fall in love with it, as many have, you know, talked about the original back in their day on the PS1. But yeah, the Crash Bandicoot games on the PlayStation 4, what a trilogy of games to have here. So yeah. Next game we got here, Days Gone. This is a game that I really tried to give a chance when it first came out. I've seen so many comments on my videos and other collection videos where people are like, you got to give it a second shot or whatever. And, you know, I've heard other people that I've known within my own personal life, you know, talk about this game. They're like, yeah, you know, Days Gone is like one of my favorite PlayStation games. And I'm like, that's kind of weird, kind of crazy. But, you know, I feel like it came out like a little too late. You know, it's a zombie apocalypse sort of story-driven game. And for me personally, it just took a little too long for me to even get invested into this world of Days Gone. You know, it definitely has really tight, really good gameplay mechanics, but I feel like for the story and everything like that, it just couldn't really hook me in. It felt very generic. There was nothing really grabbing me here. So yeah, maybe one day I'll revisit it. I wouldn't put a, you know, sort of a real bet on that, but yeah, definitely want to go back into this one day and actually see what people are actually talking about. Dead Rising 2. I bought this at a thrift store a year or so ago. I feel like this was featured on my last collection video. I could be wrong, but yeah, Dead Rising 2. I haven't played this one. Like I said, I just found it at a thrift store for like $10 or something, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't have this in my collection. I've never played Dead Rising 2 because I'm very much a Dead Rising Frank West fan, which I think they made a Dead Rising 2 with Frank West just because people were like, where's Frank West? We like Frank West. So I think they just retconned this game and then just brought in Frank West back in as the main protagonist. But yeah, you know, Dead Rising 2, or the Dead Rising series, you know, they just recently had that remaster, remake, whatever. So yeah. Destroy All Humans. I bought this on Black Friday a few years back. Haven't opened it yet. I definitely have some nostalgia with this series. I remember seeing the commercials as a kid. Damien recommended me getting this game way back then on the PlayStation 2. And I played it. I liked it. You know, wasn't necessarily falling in love with it. I played the other games on the Wii, the Xbox 360. But this new remaster, remake, whatever, haven't tried it out yet. I heard it is very good, though. Detroit Become Human, my first ever Quantic Dreams game, or Quantic Dream game. This is, a graphic adventure game where you are literally every single choice you make, every little thing you do does have a payoff in the end, and it's just a matter of if you fall in love with the three characters, with Connor, Marcus, and Kara, I believe. So you follow all three of their stories and you sort of see where they go in terms of their life as a android, and sort of where they go, how far will you go to be free is obviously the tagline on the back of the box. And yeah, it's very interesting, very, very cool to sort of pick and choose how you want each of these characters to play as. And like I said, every single choice you make does have an impact towards the ending of this game. I'm sure there's so many endings that you could watch on YouTube or whatever, but yeah, I feel like that this is a game that you should definitely play for yourself, see how you like it, especially if you like story-driven graphic adventure games like this one. This is definitely like the most extensive one out there, because like I said, every choice you make really does impact the overall conclusion you get. Devil May Cry 5. This is a fantastic hack and slash game that I know nothing about in terms of the story, because I played the DMC game, yes, the reboot, and I actually really like that. I really like that game in terms of the gameplay and a little bit of the story. It's definitely like edgy 2012 sort of, style to it, which obviously no one liked, which is why they went back to the original Dante and everything like that and made DMC 5. And yeah, like I said, this game is fantastic in terms of gameplay. You get to play as 3 different characters, I believe. I don't remember much about the story, but I just remember having a lot of fun with just, hacking, slashing dudes up, and, having fun with that sort of gameplay aspect. Next up, we got Doom. I forget exactly which year this came out. Doom 2016? Yeah, Doom 2016. I bought this at Black Friday at Best Buy, and I guess whoever opened the box accidentally slid on the case or whatever. But anyways, I hear so many great things about this Doom series. I have yet to really fully dive into it, and I definitely want to do that because the new game that's coming out looks so badass and so cool. Yeah, if you just like stylistic first-person shooters, I'm sure this new Doom reboot can do that. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. I bought this at Black Friday one year. I bought it with my neighbor / friend Louis, and we just played it for like a month, just doing like the online stuff and also single player stuff. It's pretty cool. This pretty much carried the Dragon Ball Z franchise for like years and years and years with like DLC content and everything like that. And now we have Sparking Zero on the horizon, which is very, very exciting. But yeah, playing this game back when I had it, it was still pretty cool. There was still a very active online player base. And just doing like the Dragon Ball Z storyline as like your own character and sort of like slightly different what if scenarios kind of thing. It's pretty cool. I think that if you haven't played the Xenoverse games, obviously Xenoverse 2 is it. I feel like Xenoverse 1 was them just trying to like figure it out, and then they improved upon it a lot within Xenoverse 2, not just with free updates and DLC, but just like the overall gameplay. So yeah, definitely a Dragon Ball Z game that you should definitely check out. And another one that you should check out if you like action RPGs is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. This goes into the Dragon Ball Z story like no other. You pretty much do everything within the Dragon Ball Z saga, from like the filler stuff of like learning how to drive as like Goku and Piccolo, to like even little extra things that they add within the game to like expand the story, quote unquote. There's a lot of stuff in here that I think any Dragon Ball Z fan will love to see. Even if you don't like action RPGs, I think that this is such a great way to revisit the Dragon Ball Z story. Like, it's like a no-brainer as to why you should play this game, especially if you are a Dragon Ball fan. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I streamed it a ton over on my Twitch page back during the pandemic. So yeah, I definitely have a lot of footage of doing that. But yeah, really, really enjoyed this game. Shout out to Damien. He gifted this for me for my birthday, and, definitely got my money's worth out of it. Definitely played it for hours and hours on end. Freedom Planet. This is a Sonic spirituals, successor, sequel, whatever you want to call it. Very heavily inspired by the Sonic the Hedgehog series. I have yet to try it and play it for myself. This is still a sealed copy of it from Limited Run Games, and yeah, I just hear a lot of great things about this series, and I definitely want to try it out for myself. Probably buy it on Steam or something, because I don't want to open this copy for collector's reasons. But if I do happen to open it and play it, then so be it. Frogun. I wanted to do a video on this back in the day, but time got in the way. I just lost track of everything in terms of like school and everything or whatever. So, but Frogun is such a great 3D platformer that's reminiscent of the PS1 and N64 days. Like, I feel like if you like those type of 3D platformers, even if you don't, I think that this one just does it very, very well. You know, you don't have a double jump, the camera's at a fixed angle. You know, the challenge comes from the level design and the gameplay, and also just like the limitations that 3D platformers had at the time. And I believe they did like a expansion or something like that. I'm sure that they're gonna make more Frogun content because it is just such a cute series and such a great franchise. I think that, you know, people should definitely check out, especially if you like indie 3D platformers. Next game we got here is Ghost of Tsushima, Sucker Punch Productions' latest, newest franchise. I got Ghost of Yode coming out next year. And yeah, when Ghost of Tsushima came out in 2020, I was obviously there because I'm a huge Sucker Punch fan. If you guys don't know, I love Sly Cooper. Grew up on that series. And then when they moved on to Infamous, I followed that once I finally got a PS3. And now with Ghost. Ghost of Tsushima is a fantastic open world samurai game. Takes place during the late 13th century. You play as Jin Sakai, and he's just, you know, trying to be a samurai, be a ninja kind of thing. And it's a lot of fun. There's a lot to do within the game, not just within the exploration, but also just like the gameplay. You could do stealth, you could go head first and just take on everyone all at once. The gameplay, it's just so engaging and so much fun, and I cannot wait to see what they do within Ghost of Yode. That I am very, very excited to see what Sucker Punch Productions is able to do next. Might as well talk about these two games together. We got the God of War games on the PlayStation 4. The only one I'm missing is Ragnarok, but that's also available on the PS5. But anyways, God of War 3 Remastered. This is still my favorite God of War game, and I'm sure Sony / Santa Monica Studios know that, just because why would they remaster God of War 3 on the PS4? Because it's like, yeah, this is like their best game ever. And I still really like it. When I got this on my PS4, I replayed it fully just because I was like, yeah, this is such a great hack and slash game. The story is so simple and so engaging as well, where it's just like, yeah, Kratos is going to kill every goddamn god. Whoever stands in his way, he's going to kill them. And it's so stylish. There's so many set pieces, cinematics, and yeah, you know, even if you didn't play the other two God of War games before it, you can follow this one pretty closely and just understand that Kratos is on his sort of peak of his revenge path, where he's just going to kill all the gods, and sort of where does that take him. So yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of great moments within God of War 3, and yeah, can't really understate that. But you know, with the 2018 reboot, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I realize that this is, you know, once again, like a great sort of, you know, iteration of Kratos and sort of the series. I definitely like Ragnarok a lot more because I feel like that they found their place with that format there. I definitely have to replay this game, God of War 2018, just because I rushed my playthrough when I initially played it. But yeah, I mean, it's still a great story, a great sort of change up in gameplay that really adds in like the Souls-like elements, where you really have to like think about your moves. You can't just smash the buttons over and over again. You gotta block, you gotta parry, you gotta dodge, you gotta do all of that stuff to survive within God of War 2018. And yeah, Atreus, you know, he's such a fantastic addition to the story to elevate Kratos into a better character. And yeah, you know, definitely want to replay this one of these days just to, you know, get like a better opinion on it. Because like I said, I rushed my first playthrough and I kind of regret that. Next two games we got here is Gravity Rush Remastered, and Gravity Rush 2. So Gravity Rush was originally a PS Vita title that they eventually brought over to consoles because obviously the Vita was not doing all that hot. And Gravity Rush is luckily one of those games that made its way onto the console. And this game is actually kind of expensive. I bought this for $60 on Amazon refurbished or something like that. And I kind of took a risk because there was no pictures, no nothing. All I knew was that it was coming from Amazon directly. So I kind of banked that it would come complete with the box, the manual, or sort of like the cover art, and it did. So I'm very happy about that. Like I said, paid $60 at the time, which I think is still around the price that it is today. But you know, don't really know much about this series other than that it's sort of one of the hidden sort of lower end gems of the sort of Sony first party titles, if you will. So yeah, you know, Japan studio. I'm not sure if they're even a thing anymore, unfortunately, but yeah, this is definitely one of the series that people look back to and definitely want to see come back. Next game we got here, Horizon Zero Dawn. And, you know, perfect timing because they just announced Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered officially. You know, it's been rumored for so long and people were like, please stop remastering stuff, which I agree with. And I'm sure you could play this original PS4 version and still have a great time with it because the game still looks great. It still looks amazing, still looks beautiful. If you were to ask me like what the story is in Horizon, I really couldn't tell you because when I played it, I was really playing it for the gameplay. I was just playing it just to do the open world stuff, fight these giant robot animal things, and just have a great time with the slow down shooting a bow and arrow and all that stuff. So, yeah, you know, unfortunately, I can't really tell you what the game is about other than that, yeah, you live in this world where there's a bunch of robot animals and Aloy's just trying to figure out what it all means in sort of like the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, you know, definitely still a great game from a gameplay perspective. Story-wise, I have no idea if I'm being honest, so. Next game we got here, Infamous Second Son. Like I said with Ghost of Tsushima, I'm a huge Sucker Punch fan, so when I saw Infamous was coming to the PS4, I bought this before I even had a PS4. I bought this collector's edition at GameStop, and I bought it, like I said, just because I'm that big of a fan of Sucker Punch Productions. And in this collector's edition, you see on the back, you get some extra skin codes. The before exclusive downloadable content, Cole's Legacy, I believe they have made it free now. You get a bunch of stickers, pins, the game itself, and a beanie. So I'm gonna just show that real quick. It comes in this little container, Infamous Second Son, with the hand still stamped on the front. The game is right inside, right on the front. Then behind the game is all of the extra goodies. I looked at this earlier before I did the video, but yeah, the beanie. So got the beanie with the tag on it, I believe right here, Seattle 138. Got the patch, the stickers, and then in here is the pin set that I still have yet to open. But yeah, Infamous Second Son, say what you will about the game. It's definitely the weakest out of the Infamous games. Maybe the second weakest just because Infamous 1 is so outdated and so janky. But, you know, I definitely respect what Sucker Punch Productions were trying to do with this one. They definitely used a lot of the sort of PS4 controller, you know, stuff. Like, I know spray painting. It was definitely like a gimmicky thing where you shake the controller to like spray paint or whatever, which honestly I found to be pretty neat. I know a lot of people didn't really like that probably, but personally, you know, Infamous Second Son, they definitely had a very rich story. I definitely like that aspect of the game. Maybe some people didn't like it as much because it wasn't Cole McGrath, but instead it was Desmond. But I just really like the story that they brought to the table still, even though that it wasn't as strong as Cole's story. You know, I definitely respect what they were trying to do with this new version of Infamous moving forward. But yeah, you know, this was the last Infamous full-length game that they did, unfortunately. It Takes Two. This game is obviously has like studios is like magnum opus because it won Game of the Year, and it is such a great, fantastic 3D platformer as well. It is once again a co-op experience that is required. You cannot play this game by yourself. You have to have a second person with you, and because of that, they are able to do so many great sort of gameplay mechanics, gameplay gimmicks that I feel like are very, very strong. This game delivered on a lot of fronts. That I just really, really enjoyed. It does come with a PS5 free upgrade if you get the PS4 version, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this is just such a great game. Even like the sort of one level off sort of gameplay styles, they're just done really well. Like I feel like if they made like a full length game with some of those gameplay styles, it would have worked. Cause I was just like, wow, this like controls very, very nice and very intuitive for like no apparent reason, just for like this 3D platformer game that they're using this for one level or whatever. It was just so good. So yeah, if you haven't played It Takes Two, definitely grab a buddy, grab your partner, play it with them, see how it goes. It is definitely a lot of fun. There's a reason why people are still playing this game today because it is just that good. Next up, we got the Jak and Daxter games from Limited Run. They did these years and years ago, back when they were still doing actual like limited run productions, where pretty much if you weren't there the morning of or whatever, you would not be able to get a copy. They did not have a open pre-order policy yet. So with titles like Jak and Daxter and the Precursor Legacy, this game goes for a lot of money on eBay and whatnot. But I simply bought these just because if you bought all four of them, Jak 1, 2, 3, and X, you got the Jak 4 sort of display collectible mock case, which, doesn't have anything in it. Doesn't have anything in it. Obviously, Naughty Dog never made Jak 4 because, what's it called? They went on to make The Last of Us. But yeah, this is definitely a game that I feel like, people still want today, which I am definitely in that camp. But, if Naughty Dog doesn't have their heart in it, they don't have their heart in it. Naughty Dog are definitely a different studio from once they were, I would say, 10 years ago. But anyways, just talking about the Jak and Daxter series real quick. Yeah, I love this series. Probably not as much as Sly Cooper or Ratchet and Clank, but they are really solid, great 3D platformers. I still love Jak 3. That is still my favorite out of the trilogy. I haven't played any of these games since I was a kid. Jak X is such a great, just like racing game for like no real reason. I don't know why it is so good. It is just good, but just be warned, if you played on your original PS2, the memory card you use on it, the data will likely get corrupted because of Jak X. I don't know why that is. It just happens. So if you're going to play this game on your original PS2, get a new memory card. Get like a cheap one on like eBay or something. Don't spend too much money. Only have Jak X on there, and then the rest of your save data will be fine. Because I definitely corrupted my PS2 memory card because of that, but luckily I had it all backed up on a separate memory card, so that wasn't a big deal. But yeah, you definitely don't want that to happen to you. But yeah, Jak and Daxter, it has its reputation, and I don't really need to say much else. But yeah, definitely happy that I got these through limited run back in the day, because, buying them today definitely would have been a pain in the butt and a lot of money. J-Star's Victory Versus. This is a random anime Shonen Jump collab game that I saw at a local game store. I was actually doing a little bit of research before I saw it in there. Then I saw it and I was like, oh, like they have it here for like, I think it was like 20 bucks or something like that. Actually, I could check the receipt. I think I threw the receipt in here. I bought some other stuff with it, so it was a little bit more money. But yeah, this game was $25. So, you know what? Not bad. Definitely around the eBay price of it. I actually don't know what this game is or sort of what the gameplay is, but you got a bunch of Shonen Jump characters. You got Goku, Luffy, you got Ichigo. I think that's Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho. So, yeah, definitely a bunch of just like random anime Shonen Jump characters mashed into one. You got Hinata from Haikyuu on the front as well. So, yeah, haven't tried it out myself yet, but I definitely want to check that out. Knack. This was a launch PS4 game, and it was littered with bad reviews for good reason. I mean, I played it for the channel just for, funny gags or whatever, because obviously Donkey made this game famous for better or for worse. And yeah, the game is definitely okay, maybe even bad sometimes, just because the difficulty curve is like absolutely insane. It was a little challenging going from level to level, and just like suddenly like the enemies just like kill you in like one shot. I'm like, what is going on here? So yeah, that definitely caught me off guard in terms of like the difficulty spike. But I know Knack 2, they actually improve on a lot of that stuff. But obviously, I feel like with the reputation that Knack 1 had, it was just not able to form a Knack 3, if you will. The Kingdom Hearts games, I pretty much have them all on here. I got Kingdom Hearts The Story So Far, which has playable Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, I believe pretty much most of these games are playable, except for some of them. Yet, like these 358 Days Over 2 is the HD cinematics, along with Recoded and X Cover, which I think was a mobile game, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you got Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Remix, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Remix. I believe Dream Drop Distance is on here, Rechain of Memories, Birth by Sleep Final Mix. So yeah, you got pretty much most of the Kingdom Hearts games on here. I hope that this isn't outdated. And then, of course, Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm a dummy because I bought Kingdom Hearts 3 on launch, and obviously it is still brand new sealed. The game is obviously dirt cheap now, but I bought it at launch just because I was like, I want to support this game because I feel like people have been wanting Kingdom Hearts 3 for years and years and years or whatever. So I was like, you know what, screw it. Kingdom Hearts 3. This is like such like a hype gaming moment kind of thing. I was like, yeah, screw it. Let me just buy that. So yeah, still have yet to try out the Kingdom Hearts games in a meaningful way. I played a little bit of Kingdom Hearts 1 a little while back, but just not enough to really, remember a lot of it. And, it was Kingdom Hearts. That's all I can really say. Lego Marvel Collection. Pretty much probably the best bang for your buck in terms of like Lego games, because you get 3 Lego games here. You get Lego Marvel Superheroes 1 and 2, and you also get Lego Avengers, which pretty much goes through the Avengers movies, kind of, because I know they use the voice lines from the MCU in that game, which was a little bit weird. So, yeah, but, Lego games are great. I definitely like just doing these with my girlfriend because they're just fun little, collect-a-thon platformer games, especially with Lego characters, Can't go wrong with that. Life is Strange Before the Storm limited edition on the PS4. I bought this. It's still brand new sealed. I literally bought this because it came with a pre-order bonus, which I will show B-roll right now. It came with a pre-order bonus of Chloe and Rachel, and they're just like holding hands or whatever. And I was like, I want those figures so bad. So I pre-ordered this at GameStop, and they shipped it. It came with that pre-order bonus, and that was pretty much it. So, but I played this game on PC, and it's all right. I think that as a prequel to sort of give fans a better idea of who Rachel Amber is and sort of what her character is, other than the fact that, oh my God, she's dead in like the first game or whatever. Like she was Chloe's previous best friend when Max wasn't around. So this game pretty much fills that void to show what Chloe was going through and who Rachel Amber was. And I think they do a pretty good job of that. I think the last episode was a little rushed just because I feel like it kind of just ended like abruptly. Like I feel like we could have gotten at least one more episode to like, really tie everything nicely together. But it is what it is. When prequel games or movies or TV shows happen, it's always like iffy in terms of like if they're actually going to be good. And this is the case where this is somewhere in the middle. Medieval. This is a classic PS1 game that I have always seen and heard a lot of great things about. Bought on the PS4 because I'm like, well, this is probably going to be the best way to play it. It's going to be the prettiest, the shiniest, the most accessible, and definitely a lot cheaper than the original. I know the Medieval 2 on PS1 definitely goes for a lot because that one hasn't had a remastered treatment like this. But yeah, definitely want to check it out one day. Another game I want to check out eventually is Middle-earth: Shadow of War. I hear a lot of great things about this series, even though I know nothing about Lord of the Rings or anything like that. I just hear a lot of great things about these games, and I bought this at Target because it was cheap. Did not realize that the case was just battered up like this. It is what it is. I could definitely always get a replacement case to sort of swap it out, but yeah, Shadow of War, or Middle-earth: Shadow of War. Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, or Naruto Shippuden, whatever you want to call it. This is pretty much how I got into Naruto when I was a kid. I played all of the Ultimate Ninja games on the PlayStation 2, and then when they moved to the PS3, had to wait a little bit, and then obviously they just started bringing them to every single console, like the Xbox 360, and obviously now we are here. I'm not sure if they're going to do any more Ultimate Ninja games just because Naruto is done over. They could have done more with Boruto, but I feel like Boruto is a lost cause of a series in my opinion. But yeah, this is still a great, fun anime fighting arena game, if you want to call that. And yeah, just had a lot of fun with it. I bought this at Black Friday one of these years. I think I bought it at the same time as Dragon Ball, or maybe a year or so apart, forget. But yeah, Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, a lot of fun, especially if you like Naruto, obviously. Nier Automata Game of the Year Edition. I hear a lot of great things about Nier. Obviously, everyone knows who 2B is, but I don't know anything about Nier. Like, I don't know anything about the story. I believe this is a action RPG or something like that, so yeah, definitely not something within my normal category of games, but I hear a lot of great things about this series. I got this, I think, on Amazon or something like that for like pretty cheap. Hopefully you do not take that DLC code because I'm actually just going to put that in after this video. But yeah, definitely want to try this series out and sort of see what all the fuss is about because, definitely want to see what Nier Automata is all about. Another RPG series, Persona. My co-host on my podcast, or our podcast, the Travis and Damien podcast, Damien, he loves Persona. And I bought Persona 5 at I think it was Best Buy for like $10 or something like that. And I was like, all right, this is gonna be like the perfect way to play it. And then eventually they came out with like the PS5 version or whatever. So then I was like, God damn it. But you know, I could probably still play this and sort of get the idea and the gist of what Persona is about. Because you know, I just hear so many great things about this series, and I'm just sort of sick and tired of everyone talking about it, and like I kind of just want to play it and see for myself. But obviously, these games are like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours long, and I'm like, when am I ever gonna find the time to do that? Which maybe never, but at least I have the game for one day. One day when I have 100 hours to spare, I can just play it. Pocky and Rocky Reshrined. I believe this is a classic sort of Genesis, Super Nintendo era game. And I think they just remastered it for modern consoles. And that is great because it just makes it a lot cheaper for me personally to, you know, play it and try it out. I think this is just like a side-scrolling sort of shmup kind of game, which is kind of weird. So, yeah, definitely want to try this out one day and actually play it because I've always heard a lot of great things about Pocky and Rocky, especially if you are within like the retro YouTube community scene. You hear a lot of people talk about this game. So, yeah. Definitely want to try it out one day. You can always find it cheap on also Switch as well on like Amazon and whatnot. So, Psychonauts, another game that Damien will never stop talking about just because Psychonauts is very, very good. I played a little bit on the PS2. I bought this through Limited Run when they had it on the PlayStation 4, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I definitely want to jump back into this series one of these days so I can actually play Psychonauts 2, because once again, I hear a lot of great things about that game, but I feel like the year it came out, it was just so stacked with like a bunch of other games, which I feel like is every single year, year after year, every single year, just a lot of stacked, great video games that people want to play. So, yeah, Psychonauts. Ratchet and Clank, the 2016 reboot that was also a movie tie-in game. The game based on a movie based on the game. So, yeah, this is a reimagining of the original PS2 game that's based on the movie. So some of the story details are not all that great, but the best part about it is that Insomniac Games still developed it. So the gameplay is great. I feel like the gameplay stuff is like really nice and refined and probably like the most polished that like the Ratchet and Clank series had seen up to that point. Maybe not as polished as Rift Apart because I have a soft spot for that game personally. But Ratchet and Clank 2016 is still a great Ratchet and Clank game in terms of gameplay. I feel like story-wise, it definitely muddles it up just for like a much more younger, kiddier audience, which I hate, but it is what it is. Red Dead Redemption 2. I hear so many great things about this game. This was honestly one of my most anticipated games when it was coming out. I feel like every single time I was doing a, you know, most anticipated games video list, and this game was still like on release, you know, I had it on there because I love Red Dead Redemption 1. That was such a great game. I love that. It's probably my favorite Rockstar game ever. And then Red Dead Redemption 2 came out and I got it and I played it, and I don't know. I just really couldn't get into it. I just couldn't get myself sucked into the world again. And I don't know. I just really could not get myself invested into it. I definitely want to jump back into it one day. You know, I know that these games are super duper long. So that is definitely very, very daunting. But the game came on 2 discs, which is crazy. And I still have my original Best Buy receipt in here. So yeah. As you can tell, definitely was not playing around with Red Dead Redemption 2. Now let's talk about the Resident Evil games because I talked about it a little bit with Resident Evil 7. So we got the Origins Collection. Haven't opened this yet, but this is probably the most accessible way to play the original Resident Evil game and Resident Evil 0. I believe those were both remakes on the PlayStation, or not the PlayStation 2, or I guess PlayStation 2 / GameCube era. And this is just a modern sort of re-release, remaster format of those. As you can see, haven't been played it yet. Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, these are the remakes that they did a few years back. Then Resident Evil 6. So, yeah. Wait, I just realized. Was I talking about Resident Evil 7? Oh, no. I think I also have Resident Evil 8. I think Resident Evil 8 was the game that I was trying to talk about earlier. So, anyways, I'll talk about Resident Evil 7 in a little bit. So, Resident Evil 2, probably my favorite Resident Evil game. This game, you know, when I initially played it back then, I was just not into the survival horror sort of aspect of games. And, you know, playing it with my girlfriend definitely made this a lot easier because she was there to not just guide me as well, but also just like enjoy the game and play it with someone else. So we did Leon and then Claire, and yeah, it is just such a fun survival horror experience. And, doing like the inventory management, sort of managing your bullets, should you kill this enemy, should you not, pretty much everything you do within this game matters. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I think that this is the best way to get into the Resident Evil series as well. Don't play Resident Evil 1. I think jumping into Resident Evil 2 Remake is definitely like a fine way to do it. I think I've even heard it from other like, much more hardcore Resident Evil fans say that. And then Resident Evil 3, I remember when this game came out, I think it came out like a year later or whatever, and people were criticizing it because it was a little more action based, which is fair. I think that is definitely like a fair criticism to have, because this is definitely a lot more action based. And there's definitely a lot more scripted sequence moments, and not as much like survival horror stuff. So if you like Resident Evil 2 for that, you're not gonna like this one as much. Me personally, I still think it's a good game. Definitely not what I wanted from it, but people might say it's still okay to play the original for this game in particular, just because the remake does a lot of things differently that I think people just didn't like. So makes sense, definitely understandable. But I think that this is still like a really great game to check out and play. Resident Evil 6, yeah, we barely touched this one because my girlfriend was just not into the sort of action-based format that they had going on. So in the beginning of this video, I talked about Resident Evil 7 like it was 8. So I have Resident Evil 7 and 8 on digital. Resident Evil 7 is the one that I was trying to criticize earlier, which I will annotate or whatever. But Resident Evil 7 is great. It is a phenomenal title. It definitely goes back to the survival horror roots, goes back towards just like managing your inventory and everything like that. Obviously having that sort of small enclosed space with just the house and sort of trying to get through that aspect of it. It was great, phenomenal, really like that game in particular. Resident Evil 8, like I said, a little more action based, a little more sort of stuff that I didn't like personally, but still a great Resident Evil game and a great video game in general. And yeah, so enough with the Resident Evil ramble. Hopefully I cleared that up and that isn't that confusing. We got the Tomb Raider games, the Tomb Raider reboot. We got Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So yeah, haven't opened these, haven't sort of cracked these open yet, just because I haven't really had the motivation to really try these games out. I played the first Resident Evil game on PC way back in the day when it first came out. I remember I literally played and finished it within one sitting, which was like insane to me. And it was like one of my first ever like PC gaming games too. I played it on my brother's gaming PC because I didn't have one for myself yet. And that was such a fun experience. That was just so much fun just playing that game, because it was, kind of like Uncharted. People will say that over and over again. But, it was just a fun action-adventure game that, people will compare it to Uncharted every single day of the week. But it is still like a really well-made game. I don't know much about these sequels. I'm sure that they improve upon certain things and just do more of the same Tomb Raider stuff that we saw previously. Samurai Jack Battle Through Time. This is a limited run games title. I bought this thinking that I was going to play, but I just have yet to do it. I'm not that big of a Samurai Jack fan. I know about it just because I grew up on Cartoon Network and whatnot. And obviously the show just looks awesome and phenomenal. And this game, when it was announced, I was like, oh my God, like they're doing like a Samurai Jack game that looks like the show. Like this just looks awesome, amazing. So definitely want to pop it in one day and try it out, but just have yet to do that. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the Complete Edition. This is the collector's edition from Limited Run Games. Bought this because I was like, I want this game physically, and I need it just to make sure that, this game cannot get delisted and come and get away from my grasp once again. So, yeah, this game is still awesome. It is still fantastic. I love playing through the Scott Pilgrim game just because it is just a fun action beat 'em up game. If you haven't played it yet, definitely check it out. Even if you know nothing about Scott Pilgrim, it is still a fantastic game that everyone should check out and play. And there's multiplayer, so if you want to check that out as well, you could check it out with friends. Sonic Colors Ultimate Edition. So when this was announced, I was like, okay, we're bringing Sonic Colors out of Wii Hell and we're bringing it to modern consoles. All right, that's going to be great, awesome. And then when leading up to release, there were some leaked video of someone playing on an emulator and then some people actually playing the actual game, and it looked glitchy and buggy. And I was like, oh boy, they messed it up. So when I finally got my chance to play it, and yeah, the game is definitely not stable. I'm not sure if they patched and fixed everything yet, but when I played it, it was definitely not the most stable experience, and definitely worse than playing it on the Wii console, which is weird because it's like, all right, the game's like so old, porting it onto PS4 shouldn't be that hard, right? But it turns out that they just messed it up. So yeah, I mean, it is definitely the most accessible way to play it. I will not deny that. But I think if you want the best Sonic Colors experience, definitely play it on the Wii. But if you don't mind, running into a few bugs, glitches, or whatever, playing it on the PS4, Switch, whatever, isn't going to kill you. Sonic Forces. This might be my most hated Sonic game within the 3D era, because this really feels like Sega was creatively broke at this point. Like, they had no idea what they wanted to do with Sonic in terms of his games, and this game was just a product of it. You had classic Sonic in there for whatever goddamn reason, because they were like, yeah, Sonic Generations did well because classic Sonic was in there, right? So just throw him in there. And then they had the creator sort of hero character. They were like, all right, throw that in there as well. And that gameplay style was like, whatever. It didn't really do much for me, and I honestly didn't really like it all that much. I'm not like one of those Sonic fans that really wants to throw myself into the Sonic universe and make myself into a Sonic character. So I kind of just made like whatever. And even like the main like base Sonic gameplay was like kind of bad. Like, I don't know what they did with it, but it was just not good. And also the story, you got Infinite in here, who's like this badass like villain that they're trying to introduce, and every single time he does something, it was just like whatever. Like, it just wasn't doing anything for me. So yeah, this game was definitely sort of identity crisis to its fullest. Like, I had no idea what they were trying to do, and whatever they were trying to do, it just did not land. Forgot a collector's edition. We got Marvel's Spider-Man. I bought the collector's edition when this game was coming out because I knew I was going to love this game because I love Insomniac games and I love Spider-Man. So I'm like, they cannot fail me on this one. So yeah, I even have the original receipt for it. But yeah, Spider-Man PS4. What can I say about this game that hasn't already been said? This is by far the best Spider-Man game ever. Right behind Spider-Man 2. And what Insomniac Games were able to do with the open world sandbox formula for Spider-Man was like amazing, fantastic. The story is so goddamn good where it's like, whatever Peter Parker does, it sort of affects Spider-Man's life and vice versa. And obviously the ending for that game is like still talked about to this day because it is just so emotional. And yeah, I just love what Insomniac Games have been doing with the Spider-Man franchise, and I cannot wait to see what happens in the future for it. And yeah. SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, a remaster of the classic sort of PS2, Xbox, original GameCube game. And yeah, I played it on my Xbox back in the day, and I had a lot of fun with it. Never really finished it or anything like that, but I bought this game because I think I wanted to give it to my girlfriend, but she bought it on PlayStation Plus because it came with her subscription or whatever. So I was like, all right, you know what, whatever. I bought this on eBay, so I didn't really want to return it because I was like, all right, whatever, I'll just keep it just in case because, if you don't have the PS Plus subscription, you can't access those games. So now that I have it physically, I could play it whenever I want. So that is the beauty of physical games. Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Even though Crash Bandicoot had the spotlight, Spyro sort of came and went with his sort of remastered treatment, and I've yet to play this for myself. When I was a kid, I definitely leaned more towards Spyro because I was like, oh look, a dragon, like that was like a lot cooler for me. And I played the sort of reboot games with the Legend of Spyro trilogy, and I like those. I have yet to play through and finish all of the Spyro games, even on the PlayStation 1. I never owned them. So I definitely want to jump into this collection and actually see what these games are all about, because I've seen clips, I've seen gameplay of this remaster, and it looks fantastic. It looks amazing, and I'm just like, all right, yeah, I definitely need to go back in there and try it out for myself. Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. Bought this at Target as another one of those clearance games, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, if you played one Monkey Ball game, you kind of played them all, and I feel like they all sort of do the same thing, and to varying degrees or whatever. Tearaway Unfold. This is another PS Vita game that made its way onto console. Every single time I play this game, I always have to restart it because I forget where I was, and I just never finish it. Even though the game is super duper short, I just have yet to actually play through it all and finish it. But this is a fantastic sort of 3D platformer that uses the DualSense control touch stuff that really manipulates the levels and sort of the gameplay stuff. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I really do like Tearaway. I think that we should have gotten more games like this maybe, but who knows? With Astrobot succeeding so well, we might, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. The Angry Video Game Nerd 1 and 2 Deluxe. I bought this because I have yet to own either of those games physically. And, you know, when the Angry Video Game Nerd came out, that James Rolfe was making a Angry Video Game Nerd game, I was like, all right, yeah, like that is like pretty cool. And when Limited Run Games did like a blowout sale or whatever, I was like, all right, I need to get this game because I was like, I don't have it. So bought it. And I've yet to play it, but I know it is just like a 2D side scroller sort of Mega Man-like game. So, yeah. All right, now let's talk about The Last of Us. This is PlayStation's bread and butter, and it all started with this game. Back on the PlayStation 3, back in 2013, and now with I believe this came out in 2014, something like that, with the remaster. Yeah, you know, this is still a great way to play the game. I have it sealed because I have it digitally, but I wanted a physical version because why not? But yeah, The Last of Us, it is still a fantastic game. It is still one of my favorite games of all time just because they fuse the gameplay and the story so goddamn well that it is hard for me to not enjoy it and have so much fun with it. You know, every single time I have replayed this game, whether it was on the original PS3, and then New Game Plus, and then the PS4 version right here, and then eventually with the Part 1 remake, I was like, okay, like, I just really like The Last of Us. It is just such a fun game, such a fun sort of, you know, series to go through, and, you know, the story is so rich, and, you know, seeing the journey that Ellie and Joel go through is touching, captivating, and I love it. Now, with The Last of Us Part 2, I'm not going to sit here and say that I hate it, but there's definitely issues with it, which I talk about within like my 30-minute video or whatever. The Last of Us Part 2 goes for a lot of different things, is what I will say. They try to do a lot of stuff that ends up working. Some of it doesn't. A lot of it doesn't, actually. And I think the way that they did this story could have been executed better. You know, Ellie, she goes on this revenge path. You know, Neil Druckmann said that this game was all about hate or whatever, and I think he nailed that. But once you get to Abby's story, I think that's where you lose the audience a little bit because, you know, the way it's structured is not exactly the best, and I think it could have been improved upon, which hopefully we will see within the Last of Us HBO show, because I know that that is going to obviously take Part 2 story and sort of adapt it. But with the game itself, it's still great. Like, the gameplay is still phenomenal. I think just the story bits was just not 100% there. You know, I still enjoyed it overall, but I think there could have been a lot of improvements that would have lived up to a Last of Us Part 2, if you will. You know, like, this game is like a 7, 8 out of 10 kind of thing. I think the first game is like a 10 out of 10 perfect. So just take that for what you will, because obviously people like scores or whatever, and that's an easier way for them to see how well you like something or dislike it. Anyways, The Walking Dead, the Telltale Definitive Series, and yeah, I bought the PS3 game Season 1 back in the day, and that's how I played it for the first time, because that was around when everyone was talking about it. Everyone was like, oh my god, bro, like, if you like The Walking Dead, the Telltale game is so goddamn good, because it is just a graphic adventure game where you're making choices, and it's about the people versus the zombies, and, you know, it's all about character and story and everything like that. You know, Lee was the GOAT, and, you know, the ending still touches the hearts of many people around the world. And yeah, you know, you move on into Season 2, Season 3, and then the final season. You know, the final season was a little scary just because I think Telltale went out of business at one point or something like that. So I think Skybound Games had to pick the pieces back up and finish up the season. So yeah, anyways, I still really like this series. I love following Clementine, even during that one season where Javier sort of takes over as like the main character or whatever. I thought that was kind of interesting. Definitely not as strong as Season 2 in my opinion. I think Season 2 is like the best of like the Telltale Walking Dead stuff, but yeah, this all comes in one package. I still have yet to play Michonne. I think I did play 400 Days. I forget. You know, it's been so long since I have played this series. I definitely forget a lot of it. But yeah, the Walking Dead Telltale series, it is so goddamn good. If you have yet to try it out and play for yourself, do yourself a favor and try it. Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove. This is a sequel to Toe Jam and Earl. I believe this is like the 4th game within the series. I think they had Toe Jam and Earl 3D or something like that or whatever, but I think this is the 3rd 2D game, if you will. So yeah, haven't opened it yet, haven't tried it, just because I want to play the other games first before I even get to this one, but bought this through Limited Run Games because I was like, well, if I'm going to play it, I want a physical copy because that is just the person that I am. Tricky Towers. This is one of my favorite indie games just because it is Tetris, but like you are facing against your friends and like that is a lot of fun. So yeah, I played this a lot on Steam with my friends, you know, just doing the various versus modes or whatever. And yeah, it can get pretty competitive. I think if you guys are all like somewhat, you know, good at Tetris and sort of puzzle games like that, this can be a lot of fun. But even then, even if you aren't that good at sort of Tetris or whatever, you could squeak by some wins. You could cheese some ways to go and get the victory or whatever. So yeah, definitely love playing Tricky Towers, and definitely one of my favorite indie games of all time. Let's talk about the Uncharted series, the series that took over Naughty Dog before The Last of Us. So yeah, Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection comes with the original 3 PS3 games. Then we got Uncharted 4 A Thief's End and Uncharted The Lost Legacy. You just had to be there when Uncharted was taking over the PlayStation 3 space. This was Sony's flagship PlayStation 3 title after Uncharted 2 among these. Uncharted 2 took the world by storm. It was so goddamn good in terms of like doing an action-adventure game with great story, great characters, great gameplay. You know, it was literally the perfect PlayStation 3 game to have at the time. I played it the first time on the PlayStation 3, and I borrowed it from one of my friends because he needed my PS3 controller, and he was like, all right, so in trade, you could borrow Uncharted 2 for like a week or something. And I did, and I had so much fun with the game. I think I went and bought it right after that and sort of worked through the Uncharted series to work up to Uncharted 3 when that came out. And then they announced Uncharted 4. In Uncharted 4, I was a little skeptical because I was like, Uncharted 3 ended on like a pretty decent note. But there was obviously a little bit of room there for them to conclude Nathan Drake's story. So that's what they did here. They had Neil Druckmann and sort of the team behind The Last of Us take over the final Uncharted game. And they got the assignment right. They understood what needed to be done here, and they did a phenomenal job. This is definitely my favorite Uncharted game by far. It is so goddamn good. I feel like you could not have asked for a better conclusion for Nathan Drake and his story, and the way the story turns and twists and everything like that. The gameplay improvements, enhancements, the additions that they have are all great. You know, it's still the same old third-person action-adventure shooter, but you know, the grappling hook was just so cool. And obviously the set pieces, oh my god, the set pieces in every Uncharted game are great. Then you got The Lost Legacy, which was a fine sort of like epilogue spin-off title that they had after Uncharted 4. I feel like this was just them trying to squeeze out a little bit extra of the Uncharted series, and they were just like, all right, we'll just have Nadine Ross and Chloe just like sort of you know, lead a game or whatever. And honestly, I don't remember much about the story or even much about the gameplay, honestly. It just felt like another Uncharted game, but like expanded as like a bigger DLC piece or whatever, you know, like a standalone DLC thing. So yeah, you know, it's cool. It's not exactly my favorite Uncharted game. It might be my least favorite if I'm being honest, but it is still a good video game overall. So we got those three, and now we are winding down to the last couple of games here. So first, Vampire. This is a game made by Don't Nod, the same people that made Life is Strange. So I was like, okay, I want to go and check this game out. I bought it, haven't played it yet. Definitely want to try it out one of these days because I hear that it has a lot of cool gameplay mechanics and concepts for a vampire game. Watch Dogs. Bought this way back in the day when I first got my PS4, And I was like, all right, well, you know, Watch Dogs was like $10 on Amazon. And I was like, all right, well, let me buy it, see what all the fuss is about. Have yet to play it, have yet to open it. This game has a rich history within game development that was plagued with a lot of really amazing and cool video segments. And then when the game came out, it was just like completely different, which is kind of crazy. And then last game, Ukulele, a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie, made by, I believe, a very similar team that made the Banjo-Kazooie games, pretty much. So, yeah, have yet to play it, have yet to check it out for myself. I bought it the year it came out on, like, some deal at Best Buy. So, yeah. And that is my entire PlayStation 4 collection. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys stuck around for this long, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys want more videos like this, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I put new videos up on Saturdays. Follow me on social media at TV Sonic Gaming. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, pretty much everything. And you can check out my podcast called the Travis and Damien Podcast. We talk about games, movies, and anime every other week. And yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching this video once again. Now, see you guys next time with more videos.